Hello.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. So, let's start. We should just wait a little bit maybe till we have some people join us, and then we should just get started and ask you some questions about starting at a four-year university and your experience and how everything is. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Yay, I see a lot of people. Hi. Oh, that's pretty cool. So we last time we made another podcast about like my community college experience. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit about Riley's experience at a four-year university, and we're also going to be talking about his experience as a psychology major. Last time I discussed a little bit about biology and kind of like the sciences. So today we're going to focus more on psychology. I hope you guys enjoy. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment down below and then we can just answer as we go. So yeah, just let us know. So this is Riley. He joined us. He joined 12 Plus this summer, just like me. We're summer interns, and he is a Drexel Club
Yeah.
student. So he has been working with a lot of you guys this summer to help you get started in college in the fall. And like I said before, he's a psychology major. So how about we just get started and we ask a little bit about why Drexel? What decision or what factors you took into account before choosing Drexel University?
Okay. I spent the past 2 years of my high school in Tampa, Florida. So it was around like the suburbs area. So I thought that Drexel was a really good change of pace because of the city life, and I also chose it for its co-op program. Uh, so the co-op program is like, kind of like an internship thing with different companies that pertain to your major. So it's a really good opportunity to get a feel of what you'd like to do after college. And
Uh,
I'm actually a pre-med student, so pursuing a medical program with Drexel. Yeah.
oh, that's pretty cool. So if you guys have any questions about pre-med, we have two pre-med students here. Riley and I are both pre-med, so we are more than happy to answer any of your questions. So how would you describe transitioning to Drexel University as a first year student? And what do you remember being like the most exciting or the most thing that scared you? What would you wish you would have known before starting?
So I was most excited about being independent. I feel like that was a really big thing transitioning to college, being in charge of whatever I'd be eating or what I'd be doing for the day. And I think I was also excited to make new friends or meet new people. And uh, what I wish I would had known beforehand. Again, like on independence, now that I'm like responsible for what I'd be eating or like my sleep schedule or when I should be
Yeah.
studying, I feel like I should have taken that more seriously coming into college because I did not sleep at all. Uh, and
Oh, that sounds rough.
about friends, just know that people, yeah, just know that people are always looking out to make friends. So try not to be afraid when you're like just reaching out to whoever.
Yeah, I had kind of like a similar experience at community college. Don't be afraid to reach out to others. They're probably as much scared as you are. So it would be good to just like thrive together and just support each other through that journey. How would you say was living on campus? Was that a good experience for you? Was it not a good experience?
So I live off campus. I'm not
Okay.
actually housing with Drexel right now. I'm living in an apartment like 10 minutes away from Drexel.
So how was that process for you? Like what made you not stay on campus or what made you kind of take that decision based on financial aid or what other factors did you take into account to make that decision?
Well, it was cheaper for sure. I feel like that was a major decision. But like I know a lot of CCP students aren't housing because it doesn't offer housing. But uh, even though I live off campus, because there isn't as much engagement with students who do live in housing, I feel like it's easier to manage my eating habits or studying habits because I don't have as many interruptions as students in housing would.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that. So I know a lot
But
of
yeah,
students who
but if
are,
you're,
no, go ahead, go ahead.
uh, yeah, I was just gonna say, but if you are housing, I think just figuring out a good place or time to study would be really helpful.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was gonna say, like, I know a lot of students, when they are deciding to go to a four-year university, they have that kind of tough decision where they're like, oh, should I stay on campus because I want that experience? I want like, I guess that college life, living in a dorm with all these other friends, and I guess they think that it's easier for them to make friends if they stay in a dorm or be part of other activities. So, did you take that into consideration, and how would you say your experience was with that?
Uh, I was definitely kind of sad that I wouldn't be living with my friends because I feel like that's a big part of the college experience. But uh, I think it helped me prioritize like how much time I should be studying instead of just hanging out with my friends all the time. Because even though I lived like 10 minutes away, I would still hang out with my friends like every single day instead of studying. So that was pretty
Yeah.
bad. But I think it depends on like what type of student you are. You just have to figure out like how you're going to study, or if you're good at studying with other people around.
Okay, yeah. And how would you say classes have been? What do you think makes a good professor, and how do you kind of decide? Because I know they offer a bunch of classes. So how do you decide kind of which
Yeah.
professor to take? And yeah,
So classes have been good. I definitely recommend checking Rate My Professor. It's really underrated. But what makes a good professor? I think someone who's communicable or um, is open to talking about whatever issues you're having with that class. So don't be afraid to reach out to your professor, whoever that is, because I'm sure they've encountered students with similar issues as you, and definitely doesn't hurt to introduce yourself to your professor.
yeah. Um, and what would you say has been your biggest academic challenge so far?
Studying. I feel like
Studying.
studying was the biggest thing for me. I so I was previously a bio major and a bio major pre med. So I'd spent the first year not studying at all because I don't know why I felt like I could pass the classes, but once I hit higher level courses, like I think it was invertebrates that killed me. I think that was like biggest challenge for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, like when they get to
Uh,
college, especially as freshmen, they don't realize that the level of difficulty is higher, and then they kind of get distracted by all the different like activities and the new friendships and the new different things that they can explore. And it's okay that you want to explore those different things. Just having like that study habit and study schedule is very important. So I kind of feel you on that one. Yeah, that it was a similar situation for me. Do you have any advice for those students who might be dealing with similar issues with their
yeah,
studying habits or with their, yeah,
uh, I would like to throw in like just try to distinct your social life from your studying life because I feel like that really gets muddled sometimes. Like if I'm trying to study with friends, it never turns out well. So having great friends doesn't necessarily mean like having good study buddies. So like if you're better at studying alone, I'd recommend that, or just finding a good set of friends who encourage you to study.
yeah. And how did you choose your major? Like, I know that you said that you were previously a bio major, so what made you kind of change from biology to psychology?
So I had jumped into Drexel as a bio major, thinking that I'll just power through and get to med school like straight away. But um, I hadn't really thought about like what classes I'd be taking as a bio major, because once I started taking like actual courses on like invertebrates, vertebrates, stuff like that, like I just realized that it wasn't for me. It wasn't interesting enough for me to keep studying. So I feel like that was a big major factor in like feeling out in what other majors would be good for me. And uh, I learned that psychology, you could actually pursue med school with psychology. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, actually, this just kind of reminds me, for those of you who are struggling to kind of find a major, so don't worry about that. Major doesn't really determine what your future plans are. You can be an English major and still pursue a medical career as long as you take care of those requirements that med schools ask for when you apply. So just pick something that you like, that you feel comfortable with, and of course, in order to go into like pre-med or medical school or anything in the sciences you need to make sure you like it, of course. But if you are an English lover and you want to do that as a major, do it. Just make sure that you take the requirements that you need for whatever your future plans are that they want. So yeah, Riley, a lot of 12 plus students are actually interested in psychology. So could you talk a little bit about like, well, we talked about your career goals as a medical student, like you want to go to medical school, but what other things kind of with your friends are a psychology major? What can you do with a psychology degree after you graduate?
There are so many things you can do with psychology. I just really recommend you research on what career path you want to choose, because you really have to take like in mind that you could go with your bachelor's degree and try to find a career through that. But if you want something higher level related to psychology, I think you'd have to consider going to grad school. Um, like me, you could also pursue med school with your psychology degree. So it just depends on what you want to do with it. So just research.
Yeah. And what are some of the things that you enjoyed the most about being a psychology major in comparison to like biology, for example, since you've had experience with both?
No hate, but I feel like psychology classes are more interesting or like engaging, because I feel like they're more relatable than like talking about like biological processes or like invertebrates. Hate that class so much. Um, I don't know, just learning about like your relationships and how they function, or just how to socialize or stuff like that. I feel like they're really interesting to learn about.
Okay, and what advice would you kind of give to someone who's interested in the psychology degree, kind of before they start? What would you recommend for them to kind of like know before they start? What should they expect?
Uh, I feel like psychology takes a little more studying than it seems like, because there's a lot of material in each class and they're usually different. Like people say that psychology is a really easy major, but if you like, you really have to try to do well in it. But I'd also say just try to research what you want to do with psychology. Like it's okay to not know what you want to do yet, but just have like an idea of what subject you want to go into, like child psychology or social psychology, stuff like that.
Okay. Do you have a job in addition to your classes or any other extracurricular activities that you like doing at Drexel?
Yeah, so well, 12 plus is my internship for the summer, so I've been doing that. But out of quarantine, I'm a busser for a restaurant, so I've just been doing that part time for some extra food money.
Yeah,
Extracurricular activities. Uh,
yeah, go ahead, go
yeah.
ahead.
So, uh, so I volunteer at a place called Feast Incarnate. It's a food shelter in on Penn's campus. somewhere around there. So I just do that. Well, I've been doing that for every week. So that that's pretty fun. I've also been just feeling out different clubs, going to like science related clubs. Yeah.
Yeah, so do you have any good managing strategies to kind of how to balance that, like social life, school life, extracurricular life, work life? So all of those combined, how do you kind of manage the workload?
Yeah. So I think you have to really figure out what you're prioritizing. If you're prioritizing work, maybe consider going part time as a student, or if it's the other way around, if you're a full time student and considering part time work, I would recommend like maybe building your schedule around the weekends for work. That way you're not working on like a school night, which can be really stressful. And
Yeah.
I also recommend definitely saving some time to just hang out with friends or just stay at home and treat yourself. I feel like that's often overlooked as a college student.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. So I was wondering, given all this COVID situation and how classes are moving to online or hybrid, which is kind of like a combination of online and in person, how have classes been for you? How was that shift from in person to online?
It's definitely different. I've only taken one class so far since I'm on co-op right now, so I'm not required to take classes, but it's, uh, it's definitely different from in-person classes because I feel like in-person classes like have a fixed schedule and you're expected to show up and engage in the lecture material, but online classes are definitely more flexible with your schedule and sometimes you're not exactly required to turn on your face cam or voice. So it's really easy to disengage yourself from the material. So I just recommend like just being mentally prepared and like put your phone away and just be ready to actually take in the info when it's online.
Yeah. That's kind of been the same thing with me, but I've taken a few others and just making sure that you're a little bit strict with yourself when you're taking online classes because otherwise it's going to be 3, 4 weeks and you realize that it's been a month and you haven't even paid attention to a month of classes and catching up to that could be very stressful. Do not recommend. So,
Yeah. I
yeah,
just
so what are
started
some of the best advice for
it's
first year students?
that's
Huh? What
oh
was that? It
I was
kind of
just gonna
went
say I
off.
just started my orgo sequence.
Ooh,
Orgo,
fun.
organic chem.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah. It's so rough.
That's good. I
Yeah.
know. Yeah, it's kind of rough, but there's a lot of resources. If you guys are having trouble with some of your sciences or any other class, just know that there's a lot of resources out there. You can ask your school. They have tutoring. They have peer mentors. They have we have YouTube that you can just YouTube any topic and there's going to be an explanation for it. So don't be scared by things that you don't really understand. Riley and I have had that experience, I guess, where we are kind of lost in a class and we freak out for a little bit and then you realize that it's not as difficult as you thought it was once you get the help from like outside sources. So don't stress too much about it and just give yourself the time to learn the material and fully understand it. So yeah, I was gonna say, what are some of the best advice for first year students who are going to go to a 4 year university?
I've said this before, but really figuring out your study habits and what works best for you. Um, I'd also like to say, like, figure out what you want, but sorry, that's my dog. Uh, yeah, figuring out what you want. It's okay to feel out other majors or whatever you'd like to pursue with your degree. Uh, I'd also like to say prioritize your mental health. I feel like that's often
Yeah,
overlooked in college students, and it
yeah,
can really affect how well you're doing in classes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's better to just take a break and come back to the same issue that you've been having, and you'll see how your mind changes once you like give it a break and just focus on yourself for a little bit. And that little bit cannot be a whole month because you need to do good in your classes, but just like allow yourself to just relax and tackle the issue from another point of view or another perspective or some way. So if you could look back to
Yeah.
your first year, what would you, this Riley right now, tell first year Riley?
Um, Firstly, coffee is not a meal substitute because I would run on coffee like all the time. It was so bad. Uh, but as I said before, I think just prioritize your mental health because like you might not know it, but it really messes up your classes if you're not feeling okay or just like maybe like fix your sleep schedule too because that was bad. But yeah.
All right, so there you guys have it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment. We're gonna post this live in our Instagram. Feel free to DM us, ask Riley questions, ask me questions, or Emma or anybody. And also just let us know if you have any suggestions or any more comments that you would like for us to kind of help you guys out with. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much, Riley, for sharing your experience
Yeah.
and how you've been doing Drexel. I hope you guys, some of you go to Drexel and feel free to reach out to us. So yeah, bye. I'll see you guys sometime soon. And if you guys are in my cohort, I guess I'll reach out to you soon as well.